as we all know that, there's no any other religion that is being persecuted than Christianity. And there is a reason attached to that. All over the world, you don't see Christian undermining other religion. We believe that everybody should be able to believe according to what they are convinced of. Whatever you choose in your life, that is what you're going to believe. And we are not here to judge anybody because we don't believe that we are qualified to judge anyone. The only one who has that ability is God. Everybody will be reliable to whatever they do on this planet. But why Christianity is being persecuted? We're going to talk mainly about the issue in Nigeria, about the genocide of Christians that is taking place currently in this 2025 in Nigeria. And we saw that the post of Donald Trump also brought a lot of problems on the social media, but also the president of Nigeria responded to the same thing that President Trump posted on. So we're going to we saw the videos of a man also in the tomb trying to shout about the genocide that is taking place in Nigeria. So there are plenty of things that are happening behind the scenes, and even the other things that we are not able to see on the media. So we're going to talk to Dr. Peter Hammond today about this particular issue and see exactly what we will learn about this issue and how we can solve this as Christians. How are you, Doctor?
Rejoicing in the Lord.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today. So without any delay, I want us to talk a bit about the genocide of Christians that is taking place in Nigeria. What do you think this is happening to Christians all over the world, but particularly in Nigeria?
In fact, Nigeria is the most dangerous place to be a Christian today. Northern Nigeria, I should say. Nigeria is a large country. There are 36 states. The 12 northernmost states are under Sharia law. They have Muslim majority governments, Muslim premiers, and they have Sharia law and persecute the church relentlessly. There's Boko Haram, which is a Muslim extremist terrorist group of jihadists in Nigeria, and then there's the Fulani and Hausa tribesmen who are overwhelmingly Muslim in northern Nigeria. They are persecuting the Christians so badly. Just in the first 7 months of this year, 7,000 Christians were killed in northern Nigeria in 7 months.
That is so bad.
That is terrible. Now, the other statistics, in the last 15 years, so since 2010, in the last 15 years, 20,000 churches and Christian schools have been attacked.
That is a large number.
Bombed or burned or even attacked by gunmen firing into the congregation. Sometimes they've had a car bomb careen into a church and explode inside the church. Now, if you go to Nigeria, they've often got concrete pillars around the church to make it impossible for a car or a truck to ram straight into the congregation. They build their churches strong. They've got strong walls around. I've been to churches where they've got sandbags and machine gun posts outside the church building to protect the church from the potential of especially some Boko Haram terrorists driving straight in and detonating a car bomb inside the church. The people are armed. Nigerians are on edge. The situation is serious. Going to church is something that can threaten your life. In the last 15 years, 52,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria, northern Nigeria.
That is a lot.
18,500 Christians have been kidnapped, abducted. And officially, the government says few of those are expected to have survived. Now, you may recall there were hundreds of schoolgirls who were kidnapped at one stage, and that brought down the previous government of a Christian president, Goodluck Jonathan. Interestingly, many of the people in Nigeria said they wouldn't vote in the next elections if the government of Nigeria didn't succeed in bringing the girls home. Bring our girls home or we will not vote. And the government of Nigeria failed to bring those kidnapped girls back. And so the worst turnout of Christians for any elections in Nigeria happened. And Buhari, the Muslim candidate, who had previously been a military dictator in the country, who had seized power through a coup, he came to power. Now, it's interesting to find out the backstory behind that, because at that time, Barack Hussein Obama was the president in America, and he had actually tried to push his LGBTQ perversion agenda on Nigeria. And Nigeria is one of the strong African countries that said, no, there are two genders, male and female. Marriage can only be between a man and a woman. we're not going to accept that. And so the US State Department was putting pressure on them and causing economic problems. But an American general testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that they had real intelligence information in active time of the location of the kidnapped girls, presumably through satellite technology and so on. They knew where the girls were, and they also knew exactly where all the leaders of Boko Haram were. They could have, he testified, this American general testified, they could have provided this information to the Nigerian government, and the Nigerian government might have been able to decapitate Boko Haram terrorist threat and to bring back these kidnapped girls, which would have definitely won them the next election. It's the failure to have done this that cost them the election. And he testified that from the highest level in the White House, they were instructed not to share this information with the Nigerian government because the Nigerian government wasn't cooperating on what USAID and the State Department wanted them to do for the LGBTQ perverted agenda. And so the US government destabilized the government of the Christian president, Goodluck Jonathan, and made possible the rise of Buhari's government. And by the way, historically in Nigeria, because Nigeria is half Christian, half Muslim, mostly the Muslims are north, mostly the Christians are on the south, they've had a tradition that if you have a Christian president, you have a Muslim vice president. If you have a Muslim president, you have a Christian vice president. But Buhari has dispensed with that tradition. He's got a Muslim president, Muslim vice president, and all the key cabinet positions are Muslim. It's a totally Muslim administration. And for their foreign affairs ministers to say Donald Trump is talking nonsense, we have freedom of religion in Nigeria. Well, yes, the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion, but they don't have freedom of religion in practice.
Absolutely.
I've just given the statistics that prove that.
Totally.
So, this is not honest to say, oh, our Constitution guarantees freedom of religion. So did the Soviet Union. So did Red China. But we all know that didn't work in practice. So it's a bit meaningless to say our Constitution guarantees freedom of religion. What is the Nigerian government doing to protect the churches and the Christians in northern Nigeria?
That's a possible
Not
question.
much at all. And so Donald Trump is not wrong to point out to the persecution of Christians in Nigeria, and the Nigerian government being very dishonest when they're saying that our Constitution guarantees freedom of religion. Well, it would be nice if the army and the police did it too. So, for example, I don't know how many of the viewers know this. Do you know more Christians died in Jos, Nigeria on September the 11th, 2001 than Americans died in the terrorist attacks in New York City and Washington, D.C.? So in September the 11th, 2001, while the Muslim terrorist attack was taking place in the United States, Muslims came out of the mosques in Jos, Nigeria, shouting, Allah Akbar! And the first person they killed was a pregnant Christian woman who walked across their view. And because a woman is a rat, makes a man unclean just to see her, they decide to stone her to death. And this poor pregnant woman and her baby died. They went on a rampage and they destroyed 100 churches, 100 church buildings in Jos, Nigeria on September 11th. They killed thousands of Christians. I've heard statistics going up to 7,000 Christians killed in Jos, Nigeria, September 11th, 2001. And I don't know how many people have read about it. If I hadn't gone to Jos after that, I wouldn't know. Because I'd never read about it in the newspapers. It's like the whole world was just America, 9/11, World Trade Center, Pentagon, Pennsylvania, these different flights. No interest in Nigeria. So it's almost like these jihadist extremists knew that something spectacular was going to happen in America that would enable them to do what they wanted. And no one would be able to intervene because the news media is not going to cover anything except America. So they had a free reign. Well, at first, when the attacks began, you've got these mobs rampaging, killing Christians, burning churches, and burning out Christian businesses and homes. The army and the police, nowhere to be seen. It's like they were almost confined to barracks. But then a big Pentecnican, an 18-wheeler truck from Mali came into Jos and it capsized on the road. And AK-47 assault rifles and boxes of ammunition were spilled out. And the local Christians praised God, took the weapons, and started to fight. Up till then, they were fighting with bows and arrows, spades and shovels, obviously completely outmaneuvered and outgunned by the enemy. When they got these weapons, they restored order to Jos in Nigeria. Only once they'd restored order and re-established safety, out came the army and the police to come and confiscate the firearms. They didn't move a muscle. The Nigerian military and police didn't do a thing to protect the civilians when they were under attack and being massacred. But they were able to mobilize to disarm the victims after peace had been restored. So you can see why the people of Nigeria do not have confidence in their government to protect them.
And why the entire world is so quiet. All the international media is not saying much about this particular genocide. Why so? And they're supposed to give the news to the people.
Well, that's a good question, because you'll recall not that long ago in Paris, there was this Charlie Hebdo massacre. These French journalists, very blasphemous, crude bunch of journalists, they revel in blasphemous, anti-Christian type of jokes and cartoons. Well, on this occasion, Charlie Hebdo published some cartoons that made fun of Muhammad. And in came some terrorists, and they massacred the journalists in this Charlie Hebdo office in Paris. And that massive outpouring of concern worldwide, the heads of about 27 countries came to Paris to march in the streets to protest against this abuse of journalists. And it seemed like the whole world went wild with journalists should be protected, journalists should be respected, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. But at the same time, hundreds of Christians were being murdered by Boko Haram terrorists in Nigeria. Not a word from a single head of state worldwide. This shows the issue is a secular blasphemous journalist, his life is important. Freedom of the press, freedom to blaspheme is important enough to galvanize governments around the world. But Christians, African Christians murdered in Nigeria, not a government in the world seemed to care.
So it seems like, when the media speak more about any country or any people, is because they're not getting the benefits that they need. It's always politics.
It is.
It has nothing to do with the truth or giving the news to the people.
Yes, it's not like they cared about innocent life being snuffed out. Because if some journalist in Paris' lives matter, why does some Christian farmers or shopkeepers' life in Nigeria not matter? And so we're very grateful that President Donald Trump has done something no leader has done in recent years. He's drawn attention to the targeting of Christians, the persecution of Christians. He even was bold enough to stand in the United Nations and declare to these people, the most persecuted group of people in the world are the Christians, which is true.
Absolutely true.
In fact, the statistics are these. 400 million Christians in the world today live in countries where the governments persecute the church. That's 67 countries in the world where the Bible is banned and Christians are persecuted. Every year, about 300,000 Christians are killed for their faith.
And the other thing that I wanted to say now, if you look at the two religions, for example, Islam and Christianity,
Yes.
Islam is a very violent religion, and everybody knows that.
Yes.
That's why they have jihad, because they kill and they commit crime all over on the planet. And nobody is persecuting this religion. People are embracing this religion and say, welcome. And I know that Christians are not perfect. They also have their error, but they don't kill. They don't commit crime.
You never come across a mosque being bombed or a mosque being burned.
Absolutely.
Or Muslims being slaughtered or massacred by Christians. But it happens the other way around, frequently. And yet, has Hollywood made one film to document this? In fact, Hollywood's made a film just to blaspheme Christ, The Last Temptation of Christ, the most blasphemous film ever. Christians went and protested outside Universal Studios, but they didn't burn it, and they didn't kill anyone in Universal Studios. They boycotted Universal Studios films and studios for many years, but I'm not aware of anyone who was killed because of that blasphemous film. And yet, if somebody makes a cartoon or a film that's slightly derogatory of Islam, you will get violence. People get killed. Remember, there'd been people massacred in different parts of the world, sometimes in the Middle East, for something that somebody did in America or Denmark. And so it's got nothing to do with the poor Christians in the Middle East, but some poor Christian minding his own business who had nothing to do with it, they get targeted. I mean, imagine if every time Christians were being murdered in Nigeria, ran out and started to kill Muslims in our community. Unthinkable. I don't know any Christian who would advocate it or tolerate it. And if any Christian would condemn it, if any Christian behaved like that. But I'm not aware of Christians behaving like jihadist terrorists.
And now, the other thing is that why the entire world is saying nothing. The superpowers, for example, the United Nations and the let's say the other bodies like the African Union or the human rights, they said nothing. While there's thousands and thousands of people getting killed every day.
Yes.
Where is the human right people?
Well, obviously it's hypocrisy, but why? It's double standards, but the most charitable thing I could say is that they're cowards. But maybe it's not just cowardice. Maybe it's also that they hate Christians, and some of them are secretly glad. Now, they deserve it. Like when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there were some leftists who were dancing in the streets and celebrating. There was one Democrats with a megaphone singing on the streets, we got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. I mean, imagine the coarseness of singing and dancing and celebrating about some innocent person, some unknown person being murdered in front of his wife and family, for that matter. Absolutely disgusting. But that is the I think, actually, the reason why many of the world leaders are silent when Christians are murdered, they hate Christians. They hate Christianity. And so it's maybe not just cowardice, but perhaps it's also malice.
I think most Christians are very tired and sick with receiving fake news from the media.
Yes.
And they are, thirsty to look where they can get the true news, where they can get the true information, what is exactly going on the planet. So what will be your advice to the people that are looking for where to look for the better news?
Well, I can tell you where not to look. Don't expect the truth from the world's media. CNN, the Communist News Network, BBC, the Bolshevik or Biased Broadcasting Corporation, Slime Magazine, Useless News and World Report, Newspeak. Don't expect the news from ABC, NBC, or the world's media. Or in South Africa, we could say the Star, the Argus, the Cape Crimes, the Sunday Crimes. They will not give you the truth. Don't go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is expressly to give a non-Christian perspective on the world, just like the Encyclopedia Britannica was designed to give a non-Christian perspective on the world. Don't go to the world to find out the truth. You must support private, independent, Bible-based Christian source of information. There are some reliable journalists, not many, but let's turn to people like Tucker Carlson, perhaps. But you're not going to get the truth from the people who hate Christianity and love the world. The woke media is going to give you disinformation and distraction.
Now, the other thing, the blame I'll put it on Christian at large, because, of course, even if the media is not saying anything, even if, these our bodies are not doing anything, what about the Christians in the world? What are they doing to stand against this kind of crime?
Not enough, that's for sure. Most Christians are brainwashed by the world, distracted by the world, spending more time watching TV than reading the Bible, spending more time on secular websites than Christian websites, spending more time on secular YouTube channels than on Christian YouTube channels. Plainly, the world has captured and distracted a lot of the Christians and brainwashed, indoctrinated. And in many cases, Christians are guilt manipulated, they are gaslighted, they are Stockholm syndromed. The average Christian is so brainwashed they can't even think critically about the world. So the first thing is we've got to get Christians to stop being brainwashed by the world. Stop giving your attention to those who hate Christ. Rather give your attention to those who love Christ and who love the truth and are willing to speak against the narrative.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I think we should take a stand as Christians, when it comes to the crimes. The Bible says that love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yes.
If somebody is losing life in Nigeria or elsewhere, is your brother or your sister. You need to take a stand wherever you find yourself and also expose this wicked behavior. And we can say that it can bring some type of solution or help to these people who are suffering. You must be the mouth of those who cannot speak for themselves. You must be the stand of those who cannot stand for themselves. True love is when you accept to lose your life for others. You should be able to feel that you are not comfortable by yourself when other people are in danger. And this is not only applied to Christians, but of every human life matters. So everywhere, if you see a crime as a Christian, is something that you should take a stand for and also expose as a Christian. So what would you say in conclusion?
We cannot walk by on the other side of the road. We need to be like the Good Samaritan. To do to others, we want to be done unto. Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And the Bible commands us, remember the prisoners as if you were chained with them. For we are one body. When one part of the body suffers, we all suffer.
Absolutely.
And therefore, we've got to be in solidarity with our persecuted brethren, wherever they are in the world.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So please try to help as much as you can to expose this wickedness that is taking place in Nigeria, and God will bless you. We look forward to see you again in the next video. Welcome to share this video if you think it will help somebody to also, learn something in this video. Also subscribe on our channel if you think that this is the kind of videos that you need. May God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
God bless you.